The next suburb to boom, or the next suburb to go bananas, we reckon is...
Do we have drum roll?
Drum roll.
Drum. Is Ingleside. It's a big call. It's a big call on the beaches. Why would somebody say Ingleside when you've got Manly, you've got Curl, you've got DY, everyone's got a beach, Ingleside doesn't? Why would Ingleside be the next booming hotspot?
But Steve, beaches? You've got experience, wisdom.
We both do.
Wisdom.
Yep.
And you've witnessed this exact momentum and change in your life with Warriewood.
Spot on.
So, guys, with Warriewood, what we've actually noticed over the years is Warriewood was a suburb that was all farms. Warriewood was a suburb there was the talk of the town. What's going to happen? What's not going to happen? Warriewood was like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It went on and on and on and on. How long did it go on for from when you started hearing about it?
I moved here to Warriewood back in 1987. It was a topic of discussion then. And I don't think we really saw any kind of development coming until the early kind of 2000s. And more so, not even until kind of 2008, even onwards, was where we saw the bulk of that activity coming through. So
it was probably, and this can go for anyone who's, I think if you're anywhere in Sydney or if you're anywhere in Australia, you can actually see suburbs go through this transition or through this morph. You can apply something I had a discussion with Michael Berger about last week was you don't want to buy. So I guess this is two-pronged attack. From the developer point of view, it's very dangerous.
Yep.
Because how many people bought a farm in Warriewood at a premium off a farmer and actually it never actually crystallized for 10 or 20 years. That's one aspect. That's one prong of what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other prong is the consumer. Someone like my cousin Mary, who bought in those actual suburbs, in an emerging suburb that was not really highly regarded, not really a goer.
No.
And then it went boom, 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 boom.
Well, I grew up in Warriewood. A lot of my mates from school, going back 20 odd years now, they really used to give it to me. They'd say, "Where do you live? You live in the sticks." I'm like, "How can I live in the sticks? We've got a beach in this suburb." But that was Warriewood. It was primarily a rural suburb. Still very much underdeveloped. The roads weren't in great shape, and it wasn't by any means a hotspot on the northern beaches. And then, like Mark said, people came in. I remember when they first started doing a lot of these releases around 2000, 2002, you could buy a land and house package for $500,000.
Yeah.
For a land and house package.
Well, I remember my cousin Mary, she bought 380,000. And I remember the outrage with the oldies because we're Serbian background. The Croatians, the Serbians, the Italians, they owned in Warriewood. The farmers didn't even rate it as a great place to live. They owned like 5 acres, and they were telling like family and friends. Whenever I had family or friend buy like a single house off the developer, they were like, "Why would you pay that? Why would you want to live there?" But it's been a good story.
Really good. I've got some data behind it too. Like maybe we're jumping the gun a bit as well. But there was a home recently sold on Warriewood Road. So for those that don't know it, it is. It's not a super busy road, but it does feed through the suburb, one of the main feeder roads through that suburb. Now, back in 2012, there was a development in there, and an owner was lucky enough to buy a block of land in there for $635,000. So this is 2012, roughly 10 years. Let's just say 10 years ago. I don't know the build cost of homes then, but I'm going to add a build cost of an approximate home today of say $600,000. So that buy was probably in for $1.2 million 10 years ago. In 2012, five years later, 2017, that home again traded for $1,890,000. So they did about what, 700,000?
Made half a bar, 700 grand. Yep.
Now that traded again only last month for 2.795.
Shit.
So about 900,000 again on top. So these suburbs, and this is my personal belief behind it. Maybe getting off topic, Mark, but the newer suburbs, I love them. because there's modern planners, town planners working on this. There is learnt knowledge in town planning, in services, in roads that weren't around maybe in some of the more established suburbs. So you've got better family facilities, playgrounds, you've got walking tracks, you've got better access to shops. Schooling is a thing that's, mindful now.
You love a playground?
I love it. Nothing like a monkey bus. But, and a lot of these new suburbs offer this smarter planning, in my opinion, which only really leads to their desirability.
But I know we're talking about Ingleside, but I just think a really good segue for Ingleside is what Warriewood has done. And not only were the oldies going, why would you want to do that? But Warriewood had really small blocks.
Oh, tiny.
So everyone was like in uproar saying, like, how big would Streamdale blocks stream?
Look, they're probably anywhere from kind of 350 to 500 would be a good block in there. So they're probably 400s.
So the oldies were going like, why the hell would you buy on a 350? Like, everyone was so accustomed to 6, 7, 8. And I think they just made money.
Yeah.
So going from a segue of what Warriewood's done and now over moving into Ingleside, what's going to happen? Yeah. What's perception going to be? How's it going to be managed? Are people going to make money? Are they going to lose money? I think it's a really, really interesting topic. Now, at the moment, I think there's a plan at the moment talking about 900, 1,000 homes going into that area. Yep. If you are not from the Northern Beaches, where Ingleside is Monavale, DY, Monavale, Narrabeen, and Ingleside make a triangle in a way. So Monavale is that sort of northern end of the beaches. So north.
Oh,
too far.
Come on, it's not that far.
Narrabeen Beach is sort of pretty close to Collaroy DY.
Yep.
And it's up on the hill. So it's elevated. It's probably Warriewood is in a bit of a gully.
Yeah.
And it had the sewage plant.
The valley,
there.
we call it the valley. The valley.
This is quite elevated, sitting up high. Now, if I had a crystal ball, I reckon the blocks are going to be really small.
You're right. And what the indicators were from state government earlier was there was actually going to be a whole mix of real estate through there. Medium density, and then larger lot residential, smaller lot residential. But you're right. These developers, it's all about density for them. So, yeah. And that's the trend, to be honest. How many of us have time? When's the last time, I hope you can answer this the right way, when's the last time you mowed your lawn?
Yeah.
People don't have time as much as we used
that?
to. Nah. We'll say it was a while ago.
It was in 19...
The purpose of the question was...
It was in the 80s.
Oh, there you go. Excellent.
It was my dad's lawn.
I hope you do a good job.
Yeah, I sort of stuck to units.
But what I'm trying to say is a lot of people are time poor now when they're at home.
It's changed.
And they're not... Yeah, we're not... The perception of the garden is different today than it was, when our parents were growing up.
And where people have got more professional is with the barbecues.
Yeah. Nice outdoors.
Outdoor area.
Love it.
Bit of a fan, bit of a heater, bit of a fire pit. But they're not wanting certainly to play a game of cricket with 15 friends in the backyard anymore. So it's changed. So Ingleside is I think you're really going to do well if you get a big block. Really going to do well. I think it's going to be unusual. How you're going to make money out of buying in Ingleside, buying out this subdivision stuff, is getting in early. What you think is going to be overs is actually going to be unders very quickly. I reckon, like, if you look at the amount of the sub, like, how many went into Warriewood? How many properties?
How many dwellings?
Say houses dwellings versus units.
I don't know the exact numbers. Probably about 1,000, to be honest.
Okay, so there's my head looks a bit big. I've got to go back a bit. So there's about 1,000 odd. This is going to be about 1,000 odd. And I think what often happens with development is it doesn't all dump at the same time.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a dump by the time, because some farmers just won't sell. Some will do it because they don't need to.
Yeah, that's right.
Same happened in Warriewood. So I think what you'll actually find is that it's going to be a trickle. 100 properties a year, 50 properties a year.
Well, what's the turnaround you and I experienced at Mark here in Warriewood from day one of selling a site to a developer to the day of having somebody actually be able to purchase and build. Yeah,
3
3
4?
years. I'd say 3 years to be, an average.
So even when this planning comes through, even by the time you actually have something available and ready to go, even if you think that's expensive, I think you've got to be really careful to think it's what's expensive today is cheap tomorrow. So our advice to make really, really good money out of Ingleside, snap it up.
Yeah.
Don't be scared of the smaller blocks if there's actually smaller blocks that are there. A lot of, you know what I've noticed? A lot of the face of building has changed. When we started doing the Warriorwoods, it was AV Jennings and it was Masterton.
Yeah.
The buildings today in our area, probably different to all parts of Sydney and Australia, but it seems to be a Metragon.
Yeah, Metragon's popular. And
Clarendon.
Yep.
Icon.
Bell River's moved in. They're another custom build, or not a custom builder, but a project builder that specialises in smaller lots. So,
is building a house today with these guys as cheap as it was 10, 20 years ago? And I'm not, obviously dollar for dollar, it's going to be very different, but compared to wages, do you reckon that you're building a home for less or more than 10 years ago?
I think less, to be honest. From what I've seen is obviously manufacturing of building materials has evolved over 10 years too.
Yeah.
So the cost is down, the transportation and things of the materials is down. I actually think it's probably cheaper, to be honest. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
More, yeah.
You reckon it is? I don't know whether it's
pre-manufactured frames. There's less labour on the sites than there was maybe.
It feels like it's the decision process is easier to build a new house these days as well, where you can literally go and go that in a day, whereas 10, 20, 30 years ago, it was a much longer process where you actually pay as you go, you choose as you go. Now it's all chosen up front and bang.
Just go.
And I reckon, and definitely people are getting more out of the houses. So if you look at what was offered by the AV Jennings 20 years ago to what was being offering now. So Steve, advice,
Yep.
if they can buy a home off, so Ingleside's going to come up for sale.
Yep.
People are going to buy stuff in there. Would you recommend to buy the block of land, do what you want? Would you recommend to buy a house and land package?
I think the house and land package is, you want to do that. You want to be what we call an early adopter if you're going down the land and house package, because developers need targets to meet before they up their prices. But also that you've got to understand that, like Mark said, it will be a trickle effect when these new suburbs are released. And the first trickle will actually set the barometer for the second trickle and the third trickle and the fourth trickle. So prices will only move up as newer properties come into the marketplace. So I think if you're buying off the plan, definitely get in there straight away and buy it. But I am very, very, I'll say I'm an advocate for building your own home. It's a lot more work, but you can build a beautiful home on a 400 or 350 square meter block, starting from 400,000. If you're going to put in 600,000, you're going to get a very, very high caliber home at that price point. So 400,000, if you're buying a block of land, look, I can't forecast what the Ingleside prices are, but if you're buying a block at 1.3, you're going to have a home that's worth 2 million. So there's capital in it, but you've got to do a bit of legwork. It is going to be a bit of time and effort on your part, but I think the end result's bigger and better for you.
So let's look at Warriorwood as an example again. I just love using the Warriorwood because it's like for like. They were farms, selling subdivisions. So my cousin Mary, 350, 380. I hope she doesn't mind me using this as an example. 8 Stream Dale, almost doubled, almost tripled what she bought it for. Then I sold it for her about 8-9 years later for $900,000. What's that house worth today?
One just sold in the street about 8 weeks ago for 2.225.
Okay, so
2.2.
It's done well. Now, when you buy off one of these guys and it's already a finished home, it's never going to be quite as nice as you want it, though. But that's okay.
It's okay.
Gucci it later.
Yeah, you can do that for sure.
Gucci it later. Something to really be careful about, guys, is when you are buying a house and land package, there's 1 year of capital growth that you're going to get and the developer's not going to get, because it's going to take a year longer to develop. So if it's because they're going to have to produce the house, subdivide the site, produce the house, build the house and hand it over. Who gets the capital growth in that year?
Good question. I haven't experienced it personally because we were selling land.
Well, it's like when you buy a unit off the plan. The purchaser.
The consumer.
The consumer's going to get it. So if you buy a block of land and it settles in 3 months, because the land's very easy for a developer to hand over once they got all the paperwork done, you're not going to get any capital growth period where you've only put down a 10% deposit, because it's going to be ready in 3 or 4 months. Off you go. Financing.
Yes.
How's that work?
Like an off-the-plan purchase, you will be assessed when you sign that contract. Obviously, you'll still need to get a loan from your bank if you're buying a raw site, a block of land. But you just be mindful that if it is a 2 or 3 year completion phase, you will be reassessed at that point again. So you don't want to be changing jobs too drastically, reducing your income or anything like that between the day of signing a contract and settling on a contract. The other thing is there's different types of loans. You can get a construction loan, which works a little bit differently. We're not lenders, but there's different things where it's like a staggered payment. As you withdraw, you actually start paying the loan on the amount you withdraw. That's if you're looking to build a home.
If you're buying a block of land, you can't rent the block of land out.
That's true.
So the banks are going to be a bit harder, because while you're building, you don't have an income. The banks are going to be a bit tougher on you. If you buy a house and land package, sure, you're going to be paying more and probably a little bit overs, but at least when the bank gives you the loan, they're going to have an asset they can rent quickly, or you can move in there quickly as well. So another way to look at
it. A very good point.
Yeah. I think it's going to be easier to fund if you buy a house and land rather than just land. Land's a bit sexy because you can build what the hell you want, but I think you've got to be careful that the bank might be a bit hard on you in terms of doing that.
And you've got to live somewhere while the build's going on. You've still got your day-to-day, living costs, unless you're in with family or something like that.
But you won't have as much control to build exactly what you want. But hey, don't be fussy, get in there.
Yep.
It's the way.
Ingleside, what else can I say? It's a good area in regards to, like you said, it's an elevated position, but it's also sitting on Monavale Road, which is having major upgrades as well. So it's going to be a quicker transit link out onto the M2, M5, M7 that way from the Northern Beaches too. I just like that little factor about the suburb too.
A big thing that I like about this, and guys, if you've just tuned in, we're talking about land releases. We're talking about the newest one on the Northern Beaches, which is going to be Ingleside. When it happens, it's going to be great. We're talking about getting in. Most of all, we're talking about how you can actually make money, optimize on purchasing this, what to buy, what not to buy, to make the most amount of money. Have you heard about my banana story?
I've heard several of your banana stories.
I've got a banana story. This is how you guys are going to make money. This is about a lot of stock on the market and no stock on the market. Meriton DY had 360 units. They injected into a suburb that had 10,000 units. The problem was, actually, can I put that story on hold for a sec? I'll tell you my banana story. It's the banana story, which relates back to Meriton.
Okay.
I'm surprised you haven't heard my banana.
I thought that was the banana story.
It is, but I'll illustrate it better if I talk about bananas.
Let's go.
So, how many bananas do you and your family of 5? How many bananas do you eat
a week?
Yeah,
a dozen at least.
12 bananas. So I come to you and I say, do you want 12 bananas? $1.99 a kilo. You say done. You buy 2 kilos, 1 kilo, 1 kilo bananas.
Yes, they won. Just
1 kilo. So your rate of purchasing is 1 kilo a week. That's what you do. If I come to you and say, I've got a box, I've got so many, I need to sell these. What are you going to say?
I'll buy a few more, but I'll pay you a little bit less.
Do you that? That's what that is what I call the banana story with property. So how much less do I have to discount the bananas to sell you a whole goddamn box, which is 20 kilos? You're going to give it to family, you're going to give it to friends, but you don't really need it. They're going to go bad. You don't really need it. So you'll say, you know what, I'll give you 10 cents a kilo or 20 cents a kilo. You pay less. Guys, that is my exact story about the banana story when it comes to Meriton DY. I'm going to tie this back to Ingleside in a second. When your Meriton DY came to town, DY only sells 500 units a year. That's about 50 units a month, 40 units a month. Yeah. In that, there's 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. Meriton was mostly 3 bedrooms. Go with me on this example. I know I'm not exact, but go with me. Meriton had so many units they were trying to inject into the DY economy, into the DY market, that there was only, even though there was 40 units, 10 of them a month were 3-bedders. Meriton had 363 bedders. So they can take 10 years to sell an extra 3 or 4 a month, or they can inject more into the local market, but they have to
discount it.
They've got to discount the product. That is my banana story with property. Now, when you take that across to Ingleside and you move this example across to Ingleside, these guys, I was going to call them fuckers, but I won't. These guys are going to have to inject more property into the marketplace, be it land or be it house and land packages, than what the natural take-up is of the market. So what they're going to have to do, because they've got more supply than what's normal in the area, is they're going to have to discount that product in order to get it sold. That's another way that people are going to make money on buying an Ingleside.
Yeah. And that's where the early adopters will take advantage, because that's when there will be the greater amount of stock on the market.
And that's exactly what happened with Warriewood.
Yep.
So even though there was your pessimists and people going, blah, 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 you shouldn't do it, blah, 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 Warriewood's done very well. Now, after that banana effect, guess what happens when all the bananas are sold and there's no more bananas for sale?
Price goes back up.
Bang.
Yeah.
It's the banana bounce. So, so what we saw happening take you back to Meriton in DY, is once Meriton was sold out, once all the 3-bedders were gone, and it went back to its normal 500 unit sales a year, not 550 or 580 because there was Meritons, went back to its stabilized to its normal price, and there was no more Meriton 3-bedders available. Suddenly all of the units in DY, the 3-bedders, went up automatically by 10 or 20%. Bang. Warriewood did the same.
Warriewood did exactly the same.
That's how you make money out of Ingleside.
Very good. Very good. Because just something I heard randomly in the car while I was driving this morning was still some figures came out as projections for the next 40 years. What's going to happen to the New South Wales population? 40. So they're predicting by 2061, 40 years from now, New South Wales will have a population of 11.5 million. That's up about 3.3 million from today's numbers. And here we are. The life expectancy is also going to be up. Women up to 92 years, men 89 years.
So we need more houses because of life expectancy
alone. New South Wales will need up to 1.7 million additional homes by 2061. The Northern Beaches, I don't think we have a lot of room for 1.7 million new homes. So again, the proximity to the water, our lifestyle that we sometimes take for granted on the Northern Beaches is a key to Ingleside. When I look at the Northern Beaches and what's remaining, really, Ingleside, the next suburbs, Terry Hills to a degree, and Belrose are probably 3 that I could earmark as future development suburbs. But beyond that, I don't know a whole lot more that can really accommodate homes in regards to land or houses.
And who's going to be the target market for these house and land packages? The people that are going to be living in a modest 3-bedroom home. They need more size, they need more room. They're considering extending their home. They're considering moving to a bigger home. This is going to be a perfect opportunity again, just like Warriewood. I hope we've educated you tonight. I hope we've helped people out there. If we haven't educated you, maybe you've got a friend or family you can send this to. All about Ingleside, where Ingleside is going. It's going to happen. It's been the talk of the town for a while, and boy, has it really heated up in the last couple of weeks. Pretty exciting times for everyone.
Definitely, guys. If we can help you, please call us. We've been through this journey in Warriewood. We're looking forward to the journey in Ingleside as well.
If you're a developer, we'd love to help you.
Love to.
See you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Bubalo.